right, as we're finishing this up, just so you see this, this is the one that we've been working on again, the getting started with EF using MVC5 CodeFirst. So we went over the getting started section. We went over the create an entity framework data model. We did the CRUD today. We did the sorting, filtering, and paging. I'm going to talk a little bit about the connection resiliency and command interception. Tomorrow, if I can get them both to work or one to work, we'll go over the CodeFirst migrations and deployment. But notice what I'm not covering in here. Creating a more complex data model. So they add more tables. I think they add the departments table. I don't know how many more they add. All right. Then reading and updating data. We could spend 2 or 3 weeks on this. That's not the plan. All right. The plan was to spend no more than a week. All right. So there's some stuff in here that I'm not covering. Of course, I wouldn't expect you to know that. You know, I wouldn't put that on an assignment and say, go out there and look at that part of it. No, I'm not going to do that. All right. And then Friday, again, we're going to go over this one. It's much shorter. It's the database first, just so you can kind of compare and contrast. All right. Now, we've only got 4 or 5 more pages on here, but I'm going to actually go to the bottom page that's in this section, just so you can see this. What they want us to create is a new about page that looks like this. So somebody could look at it and say, these are how many students were enrolled in this year, these are how many were enrolled in this year, etc. The reason I'm mentioning this is when you are working on both the sports store and the project that we'll do as a class, I'm going to ask that you make modifications. I don't want them all to look the same. So start thinking about, on an about page, what would you put there? All right. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that comes to mind. Could be the history of the company, but that's kind of boring, but you could. It could be something about an employee. It could be, you know, something about a product. It could be a product of the week. It could be all sorts of stuff. Or you might want to take a product of the week and put that on your home page. All right. So these are just kind of things, like I said, I want you to start thinking about. What I don't want is I don't want a bunch of you applying for the same job and having somebody look at what you've done and say, that's just, we just had her in here, it looked exactly the same. I don't want that. All right. So for the last part of this, as it says, we're going to update the about page to display how many students have enrolled for each enrollment date. Now notice, this requires grouping and simple calculations. We're doing something we have not done before. We're creating a view model class. Remember, there's actually reasons I ask you questions on these written tests, like what is model view model? We're actually going to use a view model now. All right. Modify the about method in the home controller, which is always will necessitate us modifying the model, or modifying rather the view. All right. So the first thing we're supposed to do is to create a view models folder under our project folder. So in other words, just go and underneath the actual project itself, which is right here, I'm going to right mouse click, add new folder, and we're supposed to call it view models. There it is. Okay. In that folder, add a class named enrollment date group.cs. So there's our view models, and there's our enrollment date group.cs. I believe they'll immediately want us to replace the code that's in there, the template code, with this. All right, so there it is. Let's put it in to the project and then go and talk about it. So using system component model. Well, you should know this by now. This using statement, we're using that because why? In here, we're telling the system that it's of type date. That's a data annotation that I've highlighted, bless you, and put in blue. All right? So that's what's in there right now. The next thing we're supposed to do is come in and make some changes to the controller, I believe. Yeah, modify the controller. Add these two using statements to the top of the file. Again, mine will be ContosoCF as opposed to, and if you use the ContosoUniv or whatever, but that's what yours should be, is the ones you used. I've already got that the one that says DAL for the data access layer. And again, mine will be ContosoCF dot view models. And because I like, did I make a view model? No, it says view models. I don't know why that would be doing that. Oh, it's just saying, well, tell you what, let's move it down. There. All right. And it's giving me red. It's saying that that's unnecessary. Why? Because, again, we haven't added anything to it yet. We're going to do that right now. All right. Now, let's just look at this a step at a time before we put it in. First, add a class variable for the database context immediately after the opening curly brace. That's school context. Next, replace the about method with the following code. This is going in and actually querying the database. All right, how do I know that? Because we're saying select, all right, and we're telling it to select that enrollment group data from students, and we're telling to group it basically by the enrollment date, which is the year. All right. So again, we came in, we added the using statements. We want to add this class variable right after public class home controller. We've already got it there. Now I want to go back and double check this. Because this is saying home controller. Oh, in homecontroller.cs. All right, do we have a homecontroller.cs? If we do, I put it in the wrong place. Yes, we do. All right, I just put these. No, I didn't. Did I put it in the right place? No. All right. Okay. I put the using statements in the wrong place, so I'm going to just leave them there. They're not going to hurt anything, but I'm going to put the right code in the right place. These two using statements should go in the home controller. I think I put them in the student controller. All right? So they should go in the homecontroller.cs file. That's there. There they are. They'll go gray probably because I'm not using them. All right, so there those are. I'm going to go back to my student controller, and at the top where I put this is not needed. So that can be removed. I think the other two were already there. All right. Okay. Add a class variable in here. Again, for the home controller. There isn't one. So there's that. Replace the about method, which currently exists, with the following code. So our public action method about with this. All right, and again, that's the one that's going to be doing the querying. That about method should not be in the, well, we'll see where it is. Yep, there it is. All right, because right now it just says your home page. All right. And you look up on the screen here, please, because this was on me. Okay. This should have been removed a long time ago. Why? Why should that have been removed a long time ago? We don't have that option anymore. I believe we removed the contact. All right, I'm going to double check, but we'll see. All right, now it doesn't like this, so what doesn't it like? Okay, wanted a using statement. I already have that using statement, .viewModels. I'm not sure what the problem is. Well, it's fixed. Okay. So again, the link statement groups the student entities by enrollment date, so puts them together by year, calculates the number in each year, and then stores the results, as it says, in a collection of enrollment date group view model objects. So then we have to go, it says add a dispose method in here. So we're going to get, when we're done with this, we can get rid of it. We don't have a dispose method in here currently because we weren't doing anything with the database previously. Now we are. All right. Replace the view in the code rather in the home about.cshtml file with the following code. Well, the easiest way to show you that, and I'm going to do this. Is again, that's doing this. All right, if we've done it correctly. So I want to go into my home about CSHTML, get rid of what's there, and replace it with this. All right, you'll know real fast whether or not this works. I really should have saved first. I didn't. Shame on me. It says there were errors. ContosoCF. Close a ton of stuff here. Oops. Oh, there it is. View models. It's not showing view models in there. This isn't going to work unless I can get that to work. Should be recognizing it. I don't know why it wouldn't. Oh, that's the error right there. I've already got this. It still isn't though. Are you missing an assembly reference? No. If anybody sees if I skipped a step or something, please let me know. I have the following using statements at the top. I'm going to try to remove it and add it again. All right, the reason I got an error, again, if you're going to be stupid, I guess you should be stupid on a regular basis. And that is that when I went in here and I copied this in, or the one they told us to copy in, all right, when I did some copying, I copied ContosoUniversity, all right, changed it back to ContosoCF, and now I don't have the error anymore. Okay, let's do a save all, try to run it again. This was the one, it was on the enrollment date group. And hopefully when I iterate over to the About page, it's going to show me those totals. Alright, there's the About. Hopefully I get the results and not an error. Not an error. Alright. It says they still have ContosoUniversity in there someplace. Alright, then I've got to look and find that and fix that. There's that. There it is. And there's the information. Now, my numbers aren't the same as theirs because when I went in and edited, I changed something and I put a different year in. That's the only difference. All right. Okay. Again, not formatted very nicely, but hopefully you get the idea. All right. The next thing that they talk about in here, the next two things, is they talk about connection resiliency and command interception. So let's quickly look at both of those. And when I say quickly, I mean quickly. All right. Okay, it says when you deploy a project to the internet, that's the way I look at Azure, basically to the cloud. You'll deploy the database to Windows Azure SQL database, a cloud database service. Now, please look at this paragraph, because what the author is saying is when you deploy something out to the cloud, there's much more of a chance that you're going to run into errors, all right, than if you have it on your own machine using IIS Express. There are a lot of reasons for that. Okay, for instance, if you've got a cheap hosting service, and we're going to have the cheapest because we're going to see if we can get the free one, all right, you're sharing it with a lot of other people. Since you're sharing it with a lot of other people, you're all competing for the same server services, so that can slow it down. All right, and the author says, even if a cloud web server and a cloud database are hosted in the same data center, there are more network connections between them that can have problems, such as load balancing. And load balancing can lead to throttling. What this means is you may have something in, if you have signed up with some kind of an internet service provider, some kind of a hosting service, you might have something in the contract that says you can only make these many requests on the server per day. All right, why? Again, cost. It's not a big thing if it's your own server and you're hosting it at your own place, then this doesn't typically come into play. But otherwise, you can get, as it says, what's called throttling. And they mention there, it can throw exceptions when you try to access the server more frequently than you are allowed to through your service agreement. But most of the problems aren't like that. Most of them are transient. All right, probably, let's just put it this way. Let's assume for a second that you wanted to go out and you wanted to buy a book from Amazon, maybe for next semester. All right, so you're going to buy this book. So you go out to Amazon, you put it in your cart, you go to pay for it, and a message comes up that says, a database error has occurred, please try again later. If you want the book bad enough, you'll probably try again in a few minutes. All right, and that's what they're saying here. But what you can do is you can make the user experience better, all right, by setting up connection resiliency, which will tell the system, hey, if there's an error, try again in this amount of time. So the user doesn't have to try. The system will automatically try for the user. So they explain what you have to do here and how you do it, all right? Says if you know which exceptions are likely to be transient, all right, you can tell it those might happen and retry. You can tell it how much time to wait between retries. I mean, if it didn't work now, you shouldn't be doing it like this. You should be waiting a bit. And the author says you can either configure these manually, all right, or you can create a class. That's what they have you doing here, is create this school configuration class. There is a boatload of code in this section. Not here, but what you're going to notice is there's just code, page after page of code. All right? And the other thing that's in here is command interception. What that says is you may want the ability to go in and look at a query before the query's actually been sent to the server and run. So you might want to be able to accept the query command and look at it to make sure everything's working the way it should. That's command interception. Now, that's not a great definition. If you want a better one, you can read what's in the book here. All right. And then again, lastly, the last thing I'm going to tell you here, and I'm going to go back. So the last thing that we'll discuss, not today, but we'll look at it tomorrow, is this last part, which is using Entity Framework migrations in an ASP.NET MVC app and then deploying to Azure. All right, I'm going to attempt tomorrow morning to take this project that we have right now and deploy it to a free Azure account that I'm going to create and see if it works. All right, let's pretend it does. Great, then I can show you it tomorrow. All right, also, in the past, we've had nothing but problems. I want to see what they want for that free account. I'm going to ask a personal question, so if you don't want to answer, don't raise your hand. How many of you in here do not have any kind of credit card whatsoever? Okay, because typically, unless they changed it for this free account, they ask you for a credit card. They never use it. But you get like $200 worth of free service for the year. Most students, when I look at it, they use like $1.50. So it's not an issue. But they need some kind of a credit card. All right. Now, I did have a student who was using Azure, but he was going out and doing all sorts of stuff on his own. And then, since they had his card, they did charge him, and it wasn't cheap. All right. So, what I found a while back was a product that's called App Harbor. And we were able to create an ASP.NET web forms, because this was a couple years ago. We got it to work like that. Stood it up, put it out on the internet, boom, worked just fine. Then we tried doing one with a database and had nothing but problems. And it's funny because when I did the YouTube search, a couple of my videos came up, which amazed the hell out of me. All right, but I'm going to go through this. This was a couple years old, but I had not seen this one, where this guy does web deployment on App Harbor tutorial, where he supposedly tries doing it with a database. I'm going to see whether or not it works. All right. Otherwise, I'm going to show you the stuff, and I'm not going to make it mandatory that you take this product and put it out there. But if you do, that's just another thing that you can go and throw onto your electronic portfolio. Somebody, you can just say, hey, you want to see a copy of some of my work? Boom. You just have them key in the URL, and it goes out there and it finds it. All right. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm done lecturing for the day, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in the other room and grab a flash drive, pass it around. Anybody who wants to use it can. If you're happy with yours, great. All right. And again, it'll be on here, and it'll be called Contoso CF for CodeFirst. The one I make on Friday will be called Contoso DBF for Database First. All right.